All right, so I think at this point it's safe to say that foldable phones are here to stay, even if you don't want to pay the $1,800 price tag for this phone, even though it is $200 cheaper than the previous versions. I think there's enough going on with this phone that really make it exciting for people like me who love foldable phones, but also people who are on the fence. And I think Samsung has done enough this year with that price drop and with adding some features inside of this phone to make people more interested. And so let's talk about some of the new things. And the first thing is going to be S Pen support, but don't take your S Pen that you have with the Galaxy Note, because if you try to use it, you're going to get this error on the bottom of the screen. And that's because this will only accept a S Pen that has a retractable pen tip. So when you do press down on the screen, it won't actually damage the screen, or at least is less likely to. So you have to use one of the two new S Pens, either the S Pen Pro, which is thicker and bigger and has a more comfortable grip, but also too, you have the S Pen Fold Edition, which I have here, that comes with this nice protective sleeve. And then now you'll be able to go ahead and navigate the OS with this S Pen. So now you can use this for photo editing, you can use this to draw, you can use this to take down some notes or sign contracts. You have that ability now with S Pen support on this phone, but you can't use this S Pen on the outer display, unfortunately. And also there's no way to really store the S Pen on the phone itself. Now they do also sell this case, which gives you full 360-degree protection of the phone by covering the outside display, but also too, it does come with the S Pen included. And then you have this little slot here on the side that you can use to put your S Pen and store it that way and always have it with your phone. But I do wish that this flap had like a little magnetic thing on the back of it to keep it clamped down when you are using your phone. So let's talk a little bit more about the displays. So they have the same dimensions as the Z Fold 2 from last year. So on the outside, you have this 6.2-inch screen, and then on the inside, when you unfold it, you have this 6.7-inch screen. Now the outside screen has one upgrade this year, and that's the fact that it does run at 120 hertz for the refresh rate. So things are going to be a little bit more silky and smoother when you are navigating the OS on it, but it still is a really skinny display. And you can see here next to the Galaxy S21 Ultra, you definitely miss having that wider display on the outside of this phone. Now look, don't get me wrong, it is way more usable than the original screen on the first Galaxy Fold. Look how tiny this thing was. I can't even believe they put that on the phone. But yeah, I think one of the upgrades that we are looking forward to is when this screen is a little bit bigger like a normal phone. But the main display is really where all the party happens, right? All the fun happens with this big display. One new thing this year is that they made the protective film on the outside of the screen way better. So the previous phones did have a protective film, but they felt kind of, weird and a little bit cheap, if you want to say. This one feels a lot more just like you are using the regular glass display. It doesn't get a lot of fingerprints and smudges as the previous versions. And again, it just really feels really nice. And hopefully it doesn't have air bubble issues, which I had on my Z Fold 2 here at the bottom. As you can see, it started to get air bubbles after time. We'll see if that happens with this one. And Samsung says that these screens are around like 80% tougher than the previous versions, which, you still have to be careful because it is a foldable screen. But for the most part, I feel very confident in their durability. And what more about that durability? Well, Samsung has added an IPX8 water resistant rating to this phone. So that means, yes, finally, you can walk out in the rain, or maybe you accidentally drop this phone in your sink or whatever. The phone should come out fine. Now, you still have to be a little bit worried about things like sand and stuff, but I'm not worried about, dust or lint in my pocket getting inside this phone. I'm pretty confident Samsung has kind of reinforced that hinge and put the little bristles inside to prevent that stuff from getting inside the phone. But now look, no matter what I talk about for the rest of this video, the main attraction of this phone is always going to be that big 7.6-inch main display that runs at 120 hertz. It gives you just a big canvas to watch YouTube videos or movies on. And also it's great to play games on this because you have the ability to be able to have the on-screen button spread out a little bit more, so it doesn't feel like your fingers are covering up the screen while you're trying to own someone in Call of Duty, which I typically do. Yeah, don't come at me. But also too, it just makes for you playing a game, especially if you do have it in a controller, that much better. It really does feel like this is the IMAX of smartphones because of this big screen that can fold up and fit in your pocket. That's the biggest attraction of this. So I honestly use this phone more as a tablet replacement than I do a smartphone, because I have find myself not using my iPad as often because I have this bigger screen, which is big enough for most situations. Now, this is actually a good time to test out the stereo speakers on this phone because they get really loud and they have a very full sound to them. So you have Dolby Atmos speakers with these, and yeah, they can block out any other background noise. Now, there's something else new going on this screen. You might not have been able to see it this entire time, and it lives right here. Yes, right there is the front-facing camera for the main display. So it is now living underneath the display, and it is going to be mostly transparent. And I say mostly because 1 out of every 4 pixels in this area is still visible. So you can still see it at times, and especially if the screen is off. But the big thing about this is that your peripheral vision, right? And when you are watching a movie or playing a game, you're not necessarily looking for that camera. And so out the side of your eye, you're not really going to see that cutout for the camera. Actually, it's kind of hard to find it unless you know exactly where you're looking for. But the one drawback for this is that the quality of the camera itself has taken a step back. So your photos and your videos aren't going to look as good as they did on the Z Fold 2, and especially compared to the Galaxy S21 lineup of phones. And so Samsung had to make a decision here. They knew the quality was going to be worse, but was it worth it putting this newer technology in the phone to help the general experience? And in my opinion, that was the best choice to make. Now, I didn't initially feel that way, but after using the phone, I do appreciate not having that cut out like I did with the previous Fold phones. But the main reason I'm okay with the quality from this camera is because you have 2 other ways to take selfies on this phone if you just really want to. So you can use the front-facing camera that's on the cover display. And then also 2, you can unfold the phone and you can activate a cover preview, which will allow you to see the viewfinder from the rear-facing camera on the outside cover display. And then now you can take a selfie that way. So because we have these options, I really only see myself using this front-facing camera on the main display for, like, you know, video conference calls or like doing video chats with friends and family. And to be honest with you, when I am doing those things, I don't really care what the quality of the camera the other person is using. It's about actually talking to the person. So I give this a little bit of a pass with having less quality. And all right, so I'm gonna throw out some other specs of this phone, but the main thing I want to focus on right here is going to be the battery life. So look, if you want all-day battery life with this phone, you can get it. You just have to maybe tweak a couple of settings here and there. But because the big allure of this phone is that it is like a little tablet, in my opinion, I do find myself using it more like a tablet for watching videos and playing games. And that by default is going to drain the battery more. So a typical day for me, being a power user and using it that way, I can't make it through the entire day, but I'm not mad at that because that's how it is with most phones. But again, if you do manage things, you turn the brightness down a little bit, you can get all-day battery life, especially if you know you're going to be out all day long. Oh, and I didn't tell you already that the Z Fold 3 is thinner and lighter than the Z Fold 2. So I use the Z Fold 2 here every day for the past year. And when I first picked up the Z Fold 3, I noticed that weight difference. So I appreciate them shaving off 11 grams off of the weight, which it might not sound like a lot, but it does make a difference when you are using a phone of this size. And one of the contributing factors to the weight loss of this phone is going to be dealing with the hinge. So the hinge now has Samsung's new Armor Aluminum, which is going to make the hinge stronger and lighter and should allow it to be able to withstand those 200,000 plus folds that this phone is going to be rated for. But also too, this hinge allows you to fold the phone and actually hold it in a particular place like this. So you can use some software features, what they call flex mode. And so flex mode allows you to be watching a YouTube video and then you can fold it in half. And then now you can have the main video playing on the top portion of the screen, and then you can have the chat here at the bottom. And I really like using this for watching the YouTube live streams like my man Viper here. So I could be watching the live stream and then I have the live chat at the bottom to be able to keep up with both at the same time. Now, every app doesn't have flex mode built into its software, but Samsung gives you the option now with the Z Fold 3 to go into the advanced settings, and then you can enable the ability to force an app to work in this particular mode. So I force Apple Music here to work in it. And what you'll see is when I do fold it in half like so, you can see here I do have some playback controls here at the bottom, and also I can control the brightness of the screen if I wanted to. Also, I can take a screenshot and I can pull down the notification shade from the same area. So this basically just makes this a lot better to use this phone while you have it sitting on a desk. But by far my favorite software feature this year deals with multitasking, especially with the Edge panel. So the Edge panel is this little thing on the side here that you can swipe over, and now you can have access to some of your favorite apps, and then also too, you can swipe over to get your weather, and also you can have certain actions that you can do with this phone, like taking screenshots, taking video and stuff right at a swipe away. But the best part now is that you can choose to pin this edge panel to the side of the screen. So it basically shows up like the dock in Mac OS, right? So basically you have this always on the screen. So no matter what you're doing, you can have quick access to open up one of your favorite apps like so. Then also too, you can go ahead and close that. And then now you can open up Twitter just like that. And then also running multiple apps on the screen at the same time, it's just more fluid this year. It feels more refined. So you can have app pairs in the edge panel, so you can tap on them and you can open 2 or 3 apps at the same time. And so now you can rotate the phone between landscape and portrait mode, and they'll rotate to be able to allow you to scroll your Instagram feed or scroll my Twitter feed just like this. And so I really love this action, and I usually like to unpin that so I have a little bit more space when I am browsing. And feel free to play around with the dimensions of this, because you can make this app on the left side a little bit smaller, so now I can browse my Instagram and see the photos a little bit bigger, and also have the video from my YouTube video playing be bigger. And also too, new this year is that Samsung in the advanced section of the settings is also giving you the ability to force all of the apps to be able to work in this particular multi-window layout, because previously all the apps wouldn't allow you to do this, but now you can force all those apps to do it. It might not be perfect, but I like having that option to be able to do this. And one thing I'm really liking, and it might seem very minor, but in the settings app now, they have it split down the middle, so you can navigate the main categories in the app on the left-hand side, but then once you tap on something, instead of taking you to a whole brand new screen, it just pulls up that section on the right-hand side of the screen, so you can easily quickly get through the settings to make those changes that you want. And also now you can have the home screens on both of the displays mirror each other. Previously, they were separate, so you had to rearrange things differently, but now you can go into the settings and have them automatically be identical to each other. And then finally, the days of Instagram just sitting in the middle of your screen because it hasn't been updated to take advantage of the bigger aspect ratio of this foldable phone. Now you can go into the labs feature and force any app into a certain aspect ratio, and now you can force Instagram to run at full screen. So little tweaks like this, Samsung needs to make sure they continue to do to really make me feel like I'm taking advantage of this big display. And okay, so let's talk about the cameras, and really there's not that much to talk about because Samsung didn't spend that much time really improving these cameras on this phone. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still take some fantastic photos and videos with this. You have that triple camera setup on the back, all coming in at 12 megapixels. So you have that ultra wide camera, you have telephoto camera, and also you have a wide angle camera. But I am missing the higher megapixel camera on the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and also the space zoom that you have with this phone. And so it's safe to say that if you want the best camera experience that Samsung makes, you need to buy the cheaper Galaxy S21 Ultra. And it's very weird to call the S21 Ultra cheaper compared to all other phones, but yeah, you need to buy the cheaper phone to get that. But still, I'm very happy with the performance out of this phone. You have that 10 megapixel front facing camera on the cover display that you can use for your selfies and things. Those still look really good, but you don't have 8K video recording. You just don't have some of those things that I just really wanted to see in this more expensive phone. So in a perfect world, I want the cameras on this phone to match the S21 Ultra, but I also have to be realistic in knowing that this phone has a foldable display, it has more stuff going inside of it, and if they were to add the same cameras, that could also jump up the price. So I know there has to be a balance there, and I think Samsung is saying, okay, we're okay with these cameras not being our best, but we have a lot of other stuff going on in this phone, and that might make up for that. But all is not lost. There is one thing you can do with the cameras on this phone that you can't do with other Samsung phones, and that is the flex mode feature with the cameras that allows you to be able to fold the screen in half, and now you can have the camera preview on the top portion of the screen, and then on the bottom portion of the screen you can be using the different controls to switch between the different camera lenses, or also to be able to look at the previous photos and videos that you've already taken. It's almost like having a little mini tripod built into the phone, because you can just place this on a desk or somewhere outside and prop it up, and now you can be hands-free and set a timer and take a photo that way. Okay, so there's a lot going on with this phone, but that's a good thing. And I think one thing we know for sure about this phone is not whether or not everyone is going to want to buy it. Of course, that's not going to be the case. But we do know that Samsung is getting better at making them. You can see that in the price drop. You can see that in their confidence with the phone's durability. And they have that IPX8 rating on it, so you can get this thing wet, which I would have never thought about doing with the previous foldable phones from them. So Samsung is really proud of this, and they really are in a league by themselves. Yes, I know Huawei does make a foldable phone. I know Motorola has dibbled and dabbled with their Razr phone, but there's no one coming close to what Samsung is doing, and that's a good and bad thing. I think we undoubtedly need competition to really push Samsung even further from what they're already doing right now. But you can't blame Samsung for everyone else not being able to figure this thing out just yet. But also Samsung is giving you those software features along with those hardware tweaks and making those two things work together better. And so look, I think a lot of people looked at foldable phones for the past couple of years as like beta products, and people who are buying them, paying that high price, are beta testers. Well, this year you can't say that because they have that price drop. It's still expensive, but I do feel that you are getting what you're paying for, and this is a legit product that can do so much and is a legit tablet replacement, especially people out there who own like the iPad mini. This is the one. That was a very expensive smartphone flip right there. But look, these are just my thoughts. I really want to know what you think. Leave your comment down below. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell. But like always, I do want to thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you later. Another flip. Peace. I'm living on the edge today.